"The queen asked who guards you," the princess answered my husband. "HFY Stories, best HFY Stories." The twin sons of Aktara were low in the sky, spilling gold and pink across the palace courtyard. Princess Amara stood at the edge of the balcony, watching the people below. Traders and travelers bustled about, their voices mixing with the soft hum of StarCraft engines. For most, it was just another day in the kingdom. But for her, today felt different. She smoothed her gown and let her thoughts drift. The desert world of Shadowvar. 9, where she had spent the last month traveling in secret, had changed her. Its sands were endless, the ruins ancient, and the winds carried whispers of a time before humans ever set foot among the stars. She had walked through corridors of long-lost machines, had studied glyphs carved deep into stone, and had listened to the desert speak. And through all of it, one person had stayed by her side, Captain Jorah. He was a wanderer, a man of quiet strength, with eyes that seemed to hold every horizon he had ever seen. His hat shaded his face, and his coat smelled faintly of stardust and campfires. To strangers he might have appeared ordinary. But Amara knew the truth. He was her guide, her protector, and more importantly, the person who made her feel brave in ways she had never felt before. The palace bell rang, pulling her from her thoughts. It was time. The queen had requested her presence in the grand hall. Amara inhaled deeply, steadying herself. She had spent months preparing for this meeting, yet a flutter of nerves still danced in her chest. Jorah approached, his steps silent on the marble floor. "Shall I walk with you?" he asked. Amara smiled. "I would like that." Together, they descended the staircase, the corridors echoing softly with their footsteps. Servants and guards gave polite bows, but Amara barely noticed. Her mind was focused on the queen and the question that had been lingering in the palace for weeks. Who guards the princess of Aktara? For a long time, she had allowed herself to be seen as unprotected. The courtiers assumed she traveled with a retinue, but the truth was more complicated. She had grown strong in the deserts, learned to read the winds, and found ways to move quietly. She could protect herself. Yet, standing next to Jorah, she realized that protection was not just about skills or strength. It was about trust, partnership, and the courage to allow someone to stand by your side, not because you needed saving, but because their presence made the journey richer and safer. The grand hall was vast, filled with polished stone, glowing lanterns, and tapestries depicting the history of Aktara. At the far end, the queen sat on her throne, regal and commanding. Her silver hair gleamed like liquid starlight, and her eyes, sharp and discerning, were fixed on Amara. "Princess Amara," the queen said, her voice calm but firm. "You have returned from Shadowvar. 9. Who guards you?" The room fell silent. Courtiers and envoys held their breath. The question was simple, yet it carried weight. Amara met her mother's gaze steadily. For a moment, the memories of deserts, of ruins, and of Jorah standing silently beside her flashed in her mind, and then she spoke, her voice clear and unwavering. "My husband." A murmur ran through the hall. Some whispered in surprise, others exchanged confused looks. The queen raised a brow, a faint smile touching her lips. "Your husband?" she repeated, intrigued. Amara nodded. "Yes, mother. He walks beside me, protects me not with fear, but with care. He guides me through dangers and teaches me to see the path ahead clearly. I do not stand alone because of him." The queen's eyes softened. The counselors, at first skeptical, began to nod in understanding. Jorah stepped forward slightly, tipping his hat, his expression calm. Amara continued. "Strength is not in standing alone. It is in knowing who stands beside you, and choosing to trust them." The queen leaned back, contemplating her daughter's words. "Very well," she said finally. "If this is how you wish it, then I will honor your choice. But tell me, princess, what did you find in Shadowvar 9? Amara's eyes sparkled. "The desert holds wonders and secrets, mother. Ancient machines buried beneath the sands, ruins that hum with old energy, and signs of civilizations long forgotten. I walked among them, listened to their stories, and learned that our universe is far larger and older than we imagine." The queen's expression shifted from curiosity to thoughtful concern. "And is this why you came with him, this Captain Jorah?" "Yes," Amara replied. "He knows the desert, he understands the stars, and he does not seek glory. Together we discover truths that might be dangerous in the wrong hands. He ensures that what we learn is used wisely, not recklessly." The council murmured, impressed by her wisdom and courage. The queen, however, leaned forward. "Dangerous, you say?" Amara hesitated. remembering the glowing sands that had shifted beneath her feet, the strange glyphs that had pulsed with light, and the soft hum of machines awakening after centuries of silence. "Not danger in the usual sense, Mother," she explained, "but the kind that comes from knowledge, from curiosity and greed. Those who seek power without understanding may find themselves lost in the desert forever." Jorah placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "The desert teaches respect," he said quietly. "It does not bend to arrogance. Those who listen and learn thrive. Those who seek only to conquer do not last long." The queen regarded him, then smiled faintly. "You are a remarkable man," she said. "It seems I have underestimated you." Amara felt warmth in her chest, not just from her mother's praise, but from the unspoken bond she shared with Jorah. She had learned to walk among the stars, to face unknown ruins, and to navigate the delicate politics of kingdoms and councils. Yet the greatest lesson had been about trust and partnership. The queen stood and descended the throne. She walked to Amara and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have grown wiser, my daughter, and it seems your choice in companions reflects that wisdom. Perhaps in time the kingdom will understand the strength you carry, not in armor, but in heart." Amara bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Mother. I will do my best to honor both our people and the knowledge we have found." The queen's gaze softened. "Go then. Rest tonight, for tomorrow we discuss the expedition. We must understand the machines of Shadowvar. 9. And the discoveries you have made." As they left the hall, Amara felt a sense of purpose settle over her. The desert had changed her, yes. But it had also taught her that strength could be quiet, that courage could be shared, and that the greatest adventures were not just in distant lands or hidden ruins, but in the connections forged along the way. Outside, the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet. Amara stood for a moment, letting the cool evening breeze play through her hair. Beside her, Jorah's presence was steady and reassuring. Together, they would face whatever the desert or the stars had in store. She looked to him and smiled. "Tomorrow we prepare for the expedition." Jorah tipped his hat, his eyes reflecting the glow of the sunset. "And together we will see it through." The palace lights flickered on, casting a golden glow across the courtyard. Below, the people of Aktara moved about, unaware that their princess had returned changed, not just by knowledge, but by the courage to choose a protector and companion for life. The desert winds whispered promises of adventure, of discovery, and of horizons yet to be crossed. And for Princess Amara, the journey had only just begun. The morning sun rose slowly over Aktara, spilling soft light across the palace gardens. Princess Amara walked among the blooming star lilies, their petals shimmering like tiny moons in the early light. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness today. The queen had agreed to her plan, a small expedition to Shadowvar, 9, led by herself and Captain Jorah. Jorah was waiting near the palace gates. His coat, worn from travel, fluttered slightly in the wind. The hat shadowed his eyes, but his expression was calm, steady as always. "Good morning," Amara said, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "Morning," he replied. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Amara nodded. "I think so, but it is different knowing the whole kingdom is watching this time." Jorah's lips curved in a faint smile. "Let them watch. We do this not for show, but for truth." The palace gates opened, revealing a caravan of wagons carrying scholars, guides, and supplies. The queen had insisted on sending a small, careful team instead of an army. This pleased Amara greatly. She did not need guards wielding swords. She needed minds that could think, hearts that could listen, and hands ready to uncover the secrets buried in the desert sands. The scholars bowed politely as the princess passed. Some whispered excitedly to one another about the journey ahead. Guides adjusted their packs and checked the star maps. Jorah oversaw the preparation with quiet authority, making sure nothing was overlooked. Amara climbed into the lead wagon, the fabric of her gown settling neatly around her. She looked down at the desert ahead, endless dunes glimmering with the morning light. The air smelled faintly of sand and ozone, carrying the promise of discovery. "Princess," one of the scholars said, a tall man with round glasses and a notebook, "are you certain you wish to lead this expedition personally?" Amara met his gaze. "I know the desert. I know the ruins. But most importantly, I know that this journey is not about conquering the past. It is about learning from it." The scholar blinked and nodded slowly. Others around him exchanged impressed looks. Even in the face of vast unknowns, Amara's confidence radiated like sunlight. Jorah climbed into the wagon beside her. "The desert has many secrets," he said. "We will find some." And others may find us. Ha! Amara smiled faintly, understanding what he meant. Not danger in the sense of violence, but challenges of the mind and heart. Lost paths, ancient machines, and decisions about how to act wisely. These were the true tests of a seeker. The caravan began to move. The wheels of the wagons turned slowly over stone paths leading out of the palace and then onto the shifting sands of Shadowvar. 9. The desert seemed to stretch endlessly, a golden ocean under the twin suns. As they traveled, Amara studied the horizon, noting patterns in the dunes, shadows cast by the sun, and the way the light reflected off distant ruins. Jorah rode slightly ahead, scouting but always within earshot. He would point out potential paths, safe spots for rest, and hidden streams. By midday, the group reached a small oasis. Palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, and a pool of water reflected the sky like a liquid mirror. The team set up camp, tents pitched neatly and fires prepared for cooking. Scholars hurried to record observations. Guides checked water levels and mapped the surrounding area. Amara sat by the edge of the water, dipping her fingers in. The cool liquid was refreshing after the long ride. Jorah sat beside her, silent, watching the team work. "You handle this well," he said finally, "even when so many eyes are on you." Amara smiled softly. "It is easier knowing you are here, and knowing that we share the responsibility," he nodded, understanding the depth of her words. Leadership was not about authority alone. It was about trust, and about choosing who stood beside you in both challenge and quiet moments. That evening, the twin suns sank below the dunes, painting the desert in shades of purple and amber. The team gathered around the fire, sharing simple meals and discussing the plans for the next day. Amara unrolled an ancient map she had carried from Shadowvar. 9. Lines of glowing ink traced the locations of ruins, hidden gateways, and strange symbols. She traced her fingers along the map, explaining their path to the scholars. "These ruins are not just buildings," she said. "They are machines. Old, yes, but alive in their own way. They respond to thought, sound, and movement. If we approach them with respect, they may reveal their secrets." The scholars listened intently. Some scribbled notes, others whispered excitedly among themselves. One young guide asked, "Princess, do you think the machines could still move?" Amara considered. "Perhaps. Not like us, but in ways we do not yet understand. That is why we must proceed carefully. Curiosity alone is not enough. We must also have patience, observation, and care." Jorah added, "The desert has always been a teacher. The machines are part of that lesson. They do not allow arrogance or recklessness." Night fell, and the stars emerged, sparkling over the dunes like scattered jewels. The caravan rested, wrapped in blankets, while the desert sang its quiet ancient song. Amara lay awake for a time, listening to the soft wind and thinking of the journeys that lay ahead. She thought of the question the queen had asked, "Who guards you?" And she knew the answer still, not just for safety, but for guidance, partnership, and trust. Jorah's presence beside her was a shield of wisdom and courage. Together they could face the mysteries of Shadowvar. 9. The next morning they reached the first set of ruins. The stone was smooth, etched with strange symbols and softly glowing lines. Amara felt a thrill as she stepped forward, tracing her fingers over the carvings. "These machines," one scholar murmured, "they are more advanced than anything recorded in our history." Amara nodded. "They are, and they have been here for centuries. They survived when entire civilizations vanished. That tells us something important. That knowledge is stronger than power." Jorah knelt beside a stone panel. "Notice how it reacts to light," he said. "Not all energy comes from machines themselves. Some comes from the environment. It listens. It observes. We must do the same." The team spread out carefully, examining glyphs, recording observations, and sharing thoughts. Amara moved among them, guiding, answering questions, and pointing out patterns. Her confidence grew, not from authority alone, but from understanding the desert, the ruins, and the value of teamwork. As they finished their first day of study, the desert winds began to shift, carrying with them a soft hum from the ruins. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it caused everyone to pause. Amara smiled softly. "It is alive," she whispered. "Not like us, but in its own way, and it wants us to listen." Jorah looked at her, his eyes reflecting the glow of the setting suns. "Then we listen, carefully, respectfully, together." The team packed up for the night, setting tents at a safe distance from the ruins. They ate a modest meal under the stars and shared stories of distant worlds, forgotten histories, and dreams of discovery. Amara sat back, feeling a quiet contentment. The expedition had begun, not with swords or orders, but with respect, curiosity, and companionship. As the fire burned low, Amara and Jorah stood at the edge of the camp, looking toward the dunes. Somewhere beyond the horizon, more ruins waited. More mysteries, more lessons from the past. Tomorrow, Amara said softly, we see what secrets the desert holds next. Jorah nodded. And together, we will uncover them, one step at a time. The twin moons rose over Shadowvar 9, bathing the desert in silver light. The caravan rested, and the princess felt the truth of her words and her choice. That protection and guidance came not from weapons or walls, but from trust, wisdom, and the strength of walking beside someone who truly understood you. And with that, the first day of the Seekers of Dawn came to a quiet, hopeful close, with the promise of adventure stretching far beyond the golden sands. The dawn light broke gently over the desert of Shadowvar 9, painting the dunes in soft gold and pale pink. The caravan of the Seekers of Dawn stirred to life. Princess Amara stepped out of her tent, stretching and breathing in the crisp morning air. Around her, the scholars and guides were already preparing for another day of exploration. Captain Jorah walked beside her, silent as ever, his eyes scanning the horizon. Today we reach the deeper ruins, he said. The ones the maps only hint at. Amara's heart beat faster. The ruins of yesterday had been remarkable, yes, but something about the hidden chambers and tunnels hinted at a greater mystery. She could feel it in the air, in the hum that rose faintly from the sand, and in the way the stones seemed almost to welcome their careful steps. As the caravan moved forward, Amara looked over her shoulder at the team. Each person carried tools for recording, measuring, and studying the ruins. The scholars were eager, their eyes bright with anticipation. The guides were cautious, attuned to the desert's every sound and ripple. And Jorah, as always, moved with a quiet assurance, ready to step in if a path became tricky or uncertain. After several hours of travel over shifting sands, the team arrived at a massive stone structure rising like a monolith from the desert. Its surface was carved with intricate glyphs that glowed faintly in the morning light. The air around it hummed softly, vibrating in a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Amara stepped forward, tracing the carvings with her fingers. "This is older than anything we have studied," she whispered. The builders understood the desert, the wind, the stars, everything. They did not just build to live, they built to communicate, to teach. One scholar, a young woman with a notebook always in hand, looked amazed. "Princess, these symbols, they almost seem to react when you touch them." Amara smiled faintly. "Perhaps they do," she said, "or perhaps they respond to curiosity and respect. Either way, we must be careful and patient. We are guests here, not conquerors." Jorah knelt beside a panel of stone etched with geometric patterns. "See how it aligns with the sun?" he said. "When the light hits it this way, it glows. These machines, they live with the world, not against it. They require attention, not force." The team worked carefully, documenting every symbol, sketching every design, and taking notes on every hum and vibration. Amara moved among them, helping interpret symbols when she could, and guiding their observations with gentle authority. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher. The desert winds shifted, bringing grains of sand that sparkled in the light. Amara paused, looking toward the horizon. There, partially hidden by a dune, she saw the faint outline of another structure. It was smaller than the first, but its design was even stranger, a combination of smooth curves and sharp angles, as though it had been shaped by hands that thought differently from humans. "This one is newer," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else, or perhaps younger in understanding. "Its purpose may be different." Jorah looked where she pointed. "Then let's be ready for something new," he said simply. As the team approached the smaller structure, the hum in the air grew stronger. Amara felt it in her chest, a gentle vibration that seemed to resonate with her heartbeat. She paused at the entrance, feeling a mixture of awe and curiosity. "Princess," one of the guides said, "should we enter carefully? We do not know what waits inside." Amara nodded. "We proceed with respect. Watch each step, observe everything, and speak only when necessary." Inside, the chamber was dimly lit by a soft glowing light emanating from the walls themselves. Strange symbols shimmered across the stone, shifting slightly as if alive. The floor was smooth, but patterns in the stone suggested paths paths meant to guide, not to trap. The scholars whispered in wonder, moving slowly to document everything. One carefully touched a glowing symbol, and it pulsed brightly in response. Amara reached out and placed her hand nearby. The light shifted again, forming shapes that seemed almost like letters, or perhaps a story.
"These machines," she said softly, "they are teaching us, not by force, but by response."
They react to respect, curiosity, and care. That is why we must be gentle and patient. Jorah placed a hand on her shoulder. "You see clearly, Princess. Not just the patterns, but the intent. That is why you were chosen to lead this expedition." Amara felt a surge of gratitude and pride, tempered by the weight of responsibility. "It is not just me," she said. "It is all of us working together. And it is your guidance that steadies us, Jorah." Hours passed as the team explored the chamber. Symbols revealed hints of technologies beyond anything recorded in Oktar's libraries. Energy channels, communication devices, and structures that seemed capable of interacting with the desert itself. As the afternoon sun lowered, a soft vibration ran through the walls. The scholars looked alarmed, but Amara raised her hand. "It is fine," she said calmly. "It is simply reacting. Perhaps it wants us to follow further. Nothing here wishes harm. It only wishes understanding." Jorah stepped forward, motioning for the team to follow a narrow corridor leading deeper into the ruins. The light shifted and pulsed along the walls, guiding their path. Amara's heart raced with excitement. This was the moment she had imagined. Discovery, learning, and the thrill of uncovering something lost to time. At the end of the corridor, they entered a small chamber filled with strange devices. Spears of light floated above the floor, moving slowly as though alive. Patterns in the walls suggested they were meant to store and share knowledge, perhaps the wisdom of the builders themselves. Amara knelt beside one of the floating spheres, reaching out her hand. It hovered near her fingers, responding to her touch with a gentle glow. She felt as though she could hear whispers, not words, but ideas, histories, and lessons from a civilization long gone. "This is incredible," a scholar whispered. "It's as if the builders wanted to speak to us across time, to share what they learned." Amara nodded. "Yes, and it reminds us that knowledge is precious. It is not something to be taken or controlled. It is something to be understood, respected, and shared." Jorah watched her closely. "And you are learning the greatest lesson of all," he said quietly. "That wisdom comes not from power, but from care, patience, and understanding." The team spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the chamber, documenting the spheres, and noting how each responded to light, sound, and touch. Amara guided them patiently, ensuring that every action was thoughtful and deliberate. As the sun began to set, painting the desert in shades of amber and violet, Amara and Jorah stepped outside. The dunes stretched endlessly before them, golden waves glowing in the twilight. The ruins behind them hummed softly, as if acknowledging the care and respect of the explorers. "This day has been extraordinary," Amara said, her voice filled with wonder. "I feel as though we have learned more in a few hours than many do in years," Jorah nodded. "And there is more to come." The desert is patient. It reveals its secrets to those who wait, who observe, and who respect it. Amara looked at him, feeling the weight of her earlier words, that he was not just her protector, but her partner in this journey. Together they had faced the unknown, learned the rhythms of the desert, and guided their team with care and wisdom. Night fell fully, and the stars sparkled over Shadowvar, 9 like scattered diamonds. The caravan set up camp at the edge of the dunes, careful to leave the ruins untouched. The scholars sat quietly, reviewing notes and sketches, while the guides prepared simple meals. Amara and Jorah stood a short distance from the camp, looking at the stars. "Do you think the Queen will understand the lessons we have learned?" Amara asked softly. "She will," Jorah said, "because you will tell her, and because she trusts you to lead wisely." Amara smiled, feeling a quiet pride. The desert had tested her patience, curiosity, and respect. And she had grown stronger, not through force, but through understanding and partnership. The gentle hum of the ruins echoed faintly in the distance, a reminder that the desert still had many secrets to reveal. And Princess Amara, guided by her husband and companion, was ready to uncover them. One careful, thoughtful step at a time.